What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Caught Stealing. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Colby Conway. And it's a little fantasy baseball podcast time here. What's up, Colby? How are you doing now that the draft guide's out there?
Yeah, the draft guide is out. There's a couple of articles already in there. We got I saw some busts, some sleepers. Obviously, we've been grinding away on the free agent tracker the whole time. And, we've finally got some bigger dominoes to fall in recent days. And, we also got the information that we basically knew the whole time, which was Clayton Kershaw was going to go back to the Dodgers, and he's going to begin the year on the 60-day injured list. So he's right back to his second home.
Did I tell you the whole conversation that Jim Bowden and I had about the Los Angeles Dodgers, which you can find in the Front Office Insights podcast? But did I talk to you about it already? I'm trying to look at you, and I'm looking at the camera here. Sure. Hi, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in, by the way. So the Dodgers right now, it's a team that's built to win a championship. It's a team that's built to stay healthy throughout the regular season and then dominate in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They're insanely deep. Like, you're adding all right, Clayton Kershaw. He's coming back in the second half, right? Okay, great, because he's out till June. Shohei Ohtani's probably not going to be starting the season as a pitcher, so he's going to be brought along slowly. You chop Blake Snell down to 5 innings to make sure that he stays healthy. Like, everything, and you've got like a series of pitchers, and then look at the way they built their bullpen. 2 closers, even though Tanner Scott's getting the bulk of it. I mean, you look at the way the Dodgers are built, and what's kind of crazy is, where do you go with these guys in fantasy? Like, if I play in a quality starts league, dude, I don't want Blake Snell or Shohei Ohtani even. These guys aren't going to go more than 5. So, like, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Dodgers are almost doing that, adopting the NBA ideology, which is the season begins when the playoffs start for all those super teams that are out there. That's how it is. And basically, they've just insurance policyed themselves to death at starting pitching and relieving. That's what they've done. Like, they could feasibly run out a really solid 7 to 8 man rotation. They'll never do it, but they're basically safeguarding themselves because they know that this team has a chance to win it. And the last thing they want is to only have 5 good starters, have a couple of injuries, because they built their rotation on guys who are oft injured, to say the least. So they basically, like I said, just insurance policyed themselves to death. And for fantasy, especially, like, the bullpen's going to be frustrating. Like, yes, Tanner Scott's going to get the bulk of the saves to begin the season. They didn't say all season. They did not guarantee anything. It's just to begin the year. It's a 162 game season. He could close for the first 2 months, and they start mixing and matching because they're doing this, they're doing that. They're starting rotation. They could do a 6-man rotation. They could have 3 injuries. Everybody could stay healthy. Who knows?
Legit, they could do an 8-man rotation. Like, you think of it, easily. I'm like, look at that, right? Yamamoto, Ohtani, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow is going to be back. You bring in Roki Sasaki. You still have Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May. I like Bobby Miller, Landon Knack, not bad either. And you just like, this is depth. And now you've got Clayton Kershaw. Emmett Sheehan is working his way back. I mean, it's insane how deep they are, to the point where, no, they don't need to go more than 5 innings. And so, and then you talk about, like, offensively speaking, you bring in, Haesung Kim. You've got, Andy Pages. You've re-signed Kike Hernandez. I mean, you've got all of this depth here that you're going to just sit there. You're going to be like resting top players on a regular basis. So it's just one of those, like, interesting things, because, offensively, you want the most at bats out of anybody in your league. Like, that's what you want your team to accrue the most at bats. And, is drafting Dodgers going to be a tough call on that?
Yeah, I think the elite guys are fine, but they're going to be in a spot where they can platoon all the non-stars, because they don't have to. Like, they're going to because they can, and that's the beauty of it. So, like, some of those fringe guys, like, they're going to platoon them to death, maybe not to the level of, like, the Rays or Giants, who literally only look at platoon and don't look at names at all. I'm convinced some of those teams just cover up the name column and just look at numbers versus lefty. And it's like, well, here's our top 9 wOBA guys. Those are the guys that play. Doesn't matter who we remove names from it. We don't see names in this line, but the Dodgers can do that with all their fringe guys. So, like, yeah, I think their top guys are safe, but definitely an interesting point. Like, when you start talking about, like, some starters, like, you look at some price points and it's like Tyler Glass now seems really affordable. I know he's got injury concerns every single year, but at this point, like, he may only throw 5 innings. So like you said, quality start leagues, how many is he actually going to get? Because in how many times over the course of 30 starts do Glass now won't hit 30 starts, but let's say 30 starts for the sake of this. How many times would they really need that extra inning or two from Glass now in the regular season?
Yeah, not much. Not much. So, little food for thought, just so that everybody can kind of hone in on that. I mean, it's again, the immediate thing I thought of with regard to Clayton Kershaw signing with the team. Now, like Colby said, we've got a full free agent tracker over at fantasyalarm.com. You can go check that out. It's part of the draft guide, but it's also free. It's just been sitting out there all this time. Colby, Henry Wilson, just absolutely crushing the analysis. So you have been a little busy recently, which brings us to what we always like to refer to as the MLB news. No, you didn't. Where's my deets, Coop? Come on.
Pew, 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 pew.
There you go. I almost called you Coop. Jeez. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Colby. Let's get to some of the news because listen, we do have some big news. We could start with the most recent for us here when we're recording. We're recording on Thursday night. Most recent is Alex Bregman with the Red Sox. So, listen, going to play second base, so he will add that eligibility or re-add that eligibility. What's your thoughts on him in Boston? I shared some earlier on the Fantasy Alarm Show on Sirius XM Fantasy, but we'll go back and forth. We'll discuss. What do you like?
Yeah, good park for him, good park for right-handed power, and a really good division too for some of those stadiums in there. And you can find some anecdotal evidence of like you can look at his numbers, and he's crushed in Fenway Park for his career. So like, yeah, that's a nice talking point. But really, what's enticing for me is that second base eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is when you look at a guy like Bregman, let's say he stays pretty on par with the years past. 260 average, 23 to 26 home runs, 85 runs scored, 85 RBI. For a second baseman, that looks a hell of a lot better than at your third baseman. And I really like this Boston lineup. You put Bregman in the middle of it. Like, I have my concerns. Like, I don't like Bregman's not the top end hitter he was in, what was that, 18 and 19? I think were those two massive years that he had, or 19, 20, whichever one, or it couldn't have been 20. That was a shortened year. So maybe 18, 19 or something along those lines. But that second base eligibility is interesting because if he gets that 260 average, 23-ish home runs, 85 runs scored, and 85 RBIs, Ketel Marte was the only other second baseman who did it last year. So that's intriguing. I love the second base thought for Bregman. And honestly, like despite home run totals hovering in like that low to mid 20s, he just hits so many doubles that he's still very respectable in the slugging department. So I love the second base eligibility. This is about as good of a landing spot for him fantasy-wise as he could have had.
Yeah, his slash line in Fenway, it's like 98 plate appearances, 375 average with like a 450 on base and 750 slugging. Like just great numbers there, which is great. I mean, listen, the wall in Fenway, the big green monster, I mean, he's going to rack in so many doubles just hitting it up against the wall. We've seen it, when you've got a pull hitter like Alex Bregman is, you're going to see that a lot. I remember when Gary Sheffield first came to the Yankees, I was like, oh my God, like that violent pull swing right into the green monster. So you're going to see that. The only, the funny thing about Bregman, because I kind of was breaking him down earlier, the numbers are all on par with what he's done over the last, 3-4 seasons. The only thing that dropped last year, because everybody's like, oh, a terrible season for him. Was it though? Like, I get it. The batting average dropped a little bit and the OBP went to 315. That was the biggest hit for him, was the on base percentage, because his walk rate cut in half. So I don't know what was up with him last year. Maybe it was the elbow and he was, overcompensating or whatever. I don't know, but his swing rates were a little bit off. He was swinging more outside the zone, swinging at more pitches than he, typically did, and drew fewer walks, and that crushed him on the OBP. He's a veteran, perfectly capable of, fixing that. I think, going back to a normal 12% walk rate, which is what he kind of averages.
Well, and if you look sample size, if we take a look back to 2018 on, this was his first year with a single digit walk rate. The last time he did it
Yeah.
was 2017. So like, I'm not going to look too much kind of into that. And who knows, maybe there's, let's take a walk down narrative street. Maybe he's invigorated going to a new team. Maybe he's a little upset with how the offseason went for him. I mean, it's hard to be upset getting $40 million to play the game you love this season, but maybe there is a little bit of like I don't know why I didn't get my 7-year deal that I wanted in Detroit came in. I think it was like 162 or something that
Oh,
Detroit was
yeah,
coming
yeah,
in.
yeah, something like that.
I don't know if it was 7 years from them, but like, I mean, basically though, if I'm not mistaken, Bregman's going to get $40 million this year and can opt out. So effectively, it's another prove it. It's a prove it year. If you
Exactly.
again take a further walk down narrative street, hit the next block on narrative street, like you have that going for you. So I really like it. Like I said, I think it's about as good as it can be for him fantasy wise, and that him at second base, his offensive profile is far more enticing from a fantasy perspective at second base than third base.
It's a good do-over walk year, right? I think last year was his walk year. It wasn't that what he had hoped, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was just putting some undue pressure on himself to pad his stats a little bit more. I hope the move to second base is going to be fine. He hasn't played second base in a while on the regular. There is talk about him, moving over to third if Rafi Devers actually, starts DHing on the regular. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's kind of I think the team's just going to leave it up to Devers, really, is what he's most comfortable with. And I think that's fine. So, Bregman to Boston, I think fantasy wise, solid move. You're 1,000% right. That second base eligibility is going to be absolutely huge for him. In a big move, I was talking to Ariel Cohen from the Beat the Shift podcast earlier today. And we were discussing the New York Mets, because he's a huge Mets fan. I know that he's super pumped about it. Shows up in my Zoom meeting wearing a brand new Juan Soto Mets jersey. I was like, really? Like, you're going to join me on the show and you're going to troll me like that? Which I absolutely love. Pete Alonso re-ups with the Mets. That front end of that Mets lineup now, Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos. Maybe you put Nimmo or Francisco Alvarez, throw a lefty bat in there, at that spot. Should be very interesting to see. Are you looking to invest here? Is this, does Juan Soto, is he like the rising tide that raises all boats like he did for the Yankees?
Yeah, I think so. Over in the free agent tracker that we have at Fantasy Alarm, I ended it with think Alonso's 2022 season, but drop the RBI total closer to about 100, 110 and the batting average to about 245. So still pretty profitable, all things considered. This is a good lineup to be invested in. There's a lot to like with this team. I do love Juan Soto coming in. And if I'm not mistaken with him as well, I believe that it's another prove it. I think he can opt out, if I remember correctly.
Oh, I
After
don't know.
2025.
I don't care about Juan Soto anymore, Colby. I'm sorry. He had
Well,
his chance. He had his chance at like wearing pinstripes for life, and he said, "I'm going where the money is. I don't care about winning a World Series for the Yankees. So I don't care about him." Like, would you care? Are you going to care about Paul Skeens when he becomes a Yankee in 3 years?
I'd be happy if he's still in Pittsburgh in 3 years.
That's what I'm saying.
That's where I'm at. He'd probably be out before then.
Don't you love Paul Skeens though enough to say you just want him to be happy?
You put me in a tough spot. Let's go back to Pete Alonso. I plead the fifth. But yes, Alonso can opt out after the 2025 season to become a free agent again. So another prove it year. So he's on narrative street as well with Alex Bregman there. So here's the thing. You know what you're going to get from Alonso. Big time power. And depending on how they work that lineup, maybe they'll hit Soto in front of him. But if not, he's going to get some pitches to hit, and you hope for the best with him. So I definitely like it. Like I said, think 2022, but shave a couple points off the average and a couple RBIs off that total.
I just want the power. I just want the power out of him, man. Just, because first base is it's not the position it once was. Right? It's a lot more of a top heavy position. So, I mean, I don't know how important it is to you. Maybe I'm just a sucker for it. But I don't want to walk away from a draft without a top 5 first baseman.
No, I think that's a good way of targeting it, because when you look like here, I'm not even going to put any date filters on this, but Vladdy Jr., Harper, Freeman, Olsen, Alonso, then you get into a 20 pick drop to Salvador Perez, which you're going to play him at catcher, not first base.
Yeah.
Then you got a 20 plus drop there to like Naylor, Walker, Bellinger, Tristan Casas, Spencer Steer, Pasquantino. Like there is first base. First base seems deep because there's a lot of notable names from years past, but like Goldschmidt's not quite the guy he once was, though I do like him. Pasquantino, some of the shine has knocked off him of late. Casas had that really bad rib oblique issue last year. Questions with Cody Bellinger, although it's a pretty good spot. Then you got Christian Walker going to Houston. So yeah, first base, you definitely want one of those big boys. And at the end of the day, Alonso's one of the handful of dudes in baseball that could hit 50 home runs in a season.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I dig on that. All right. So Bregman's in Boston. Alonso re-ups with the Mets. Nick Pivetta, who signs a deal with San Diego. It was I from what I was hearing from Jim Bowden, it was like if Pivetta's going to take significantly less than what he wants, what he should, because of his free agent status, that he was looking at possibly Japan. So to see him actually sign a deal here with the Padres, I don't know, mid-level guy, right? If you want like a 4.42 ERA, good strikeout numbers. I would hope that being in San Diego means that the home runs come down less. What'd you write up about him?
Yeah, I'm pretty bullish. I'm pretty bullish on him. I'll be honest. I don't want to push him too much, but I do think that when he missed over a month with that flexor tendon strain I think there were some lingering effects with that. He closed out the year strong, but I said, what did I say? Health willing, we'll see 150 innings. 150 plus innings from Pivetta in 2025 and going to Petco Park with a good defense behind him gives him a shot at a sub-4 ERA. I said he's a great value at his current ADP with a chance for double-digit wins. He'll flirt with a sub-4 ERA and a sub-125 WHIP.
What? Sub-4 ERA for Nick Pivetta? Really?
Yep. It's got it. The home runs have to come down. Would like to see a few more ground balls, but he can miss bats when needed. He can do it. It's a good home park. Yes, there's some bad divisions and good offenses out there in the NL West. But yeah, I think a ceiling, he can get underneath a 4 ERA. That's his absolute ceiling though.
Oof. See about that. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Nick Pivetta that always, it was always one of those guys who would like screw me in season-long fantasy. Yeah. And then I would let that like not favor a matchup in DFS and then not use them. And then all of a sudden he's like lights out for the night. He's just one of those guys I just can't pinpoint when he's going to be good and when he's not going to be good. I don't know.
He's the guy I never get right in DFS, but will always draft him and then just always start him so that in my season long leagues, like when he does have that good start, it's like I didn't hop off the wagon. He's right there. And then when he sucks the next week, I just like, don't talk to me. It's fine. You remember last week though? You remember last week when he carved your team up? Mm-hmm. How do you do this week? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna talk about that.
Yeah. Just got to average it out. I mean, that's the funny thing, right? And it sounds so like basic and so remedial with regard to, just the game of fantasy baseball. But so many people, they overreact to like that bad start. Like, Pivetta will give you 3 1/3 and give 7 earned runs up, right? And just destroys you. But then, yeah, he'll come back like, the next start when everybody benches him and he'll go 7 1/3 with 12 strikeouts, and it's maddening there. Like, it's people have such a quick trigger figure to pull a guy, so he has that bad outing. You take him out, you miss the good outing, you try and put him back in again because hey, you know what? You looked so great in that last one, and then he bombs again, or he comes up mid, doesn't do anything spectacular, and you're like you miss that big ass great start that happened. So if that's what you want to cling to.
Pivetta, my friend.
I think I'm just going to start keeping a running list of like players who, we're just kind of, I don't hate the call. Like I understand just the sub-4 ERA like stood out to me like a turd in a punch bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Sub-4 Pivetta. I'm just going to write these things down. I'm going to pull some receipts at the end of the season here, Colby. Not really. Well,
it'll be like me with acknowledging Pivetta's bad starts. If I hit it on a couple of those, I won't hear from you about those, but I'll hear about the ones that age poorly, like my PCA take or my PCA thoughts with him. My 2 catchers early, Pavetta
Well, 2
potential for
catchers early again. Maddening
Hey, that's what
strategy.
it's not Twitter. Scratch that. The poll on X, it actually wasn't as much of a blowout in your favor that I thought. There's a couple rational people out there.
Right? I mean, I don't even know who those people are. I'd like to know who those people are. I'd like to know what age demographic, the old 2 catcher philosophy. And then we had that little mini debate there as far as like who said what or when. I think somebody accused me of wanting the 2 catchers, which no. Oh yeah, it was like the comparison with the tight end, Scott Frankel. Shout out to Scott Frankel. What's up, dude? Again, the Pete Crow Armstrong one, I don't mind. Did you see his new haircut, by the way?
I did not.
Oh yeah,
am I gonna have to move him up my draft board more?
It's like bleach blonde hair with giant blue stars on it. And somebody was like more like Pete Crow Davidson, which I thought was clever.
I'm
gonna see it.
I'm gonna take a couple steals off.
All right, what else we got here news-wise? Kenley Jansen with the Angels, 25, 30 saves maybe?
Or traded in July to Los Angeles.
Just across the street?
Yeah. I mean, 10 mil a year isn't bad for Jansen. Like if he has a good start to the year, that's a pretty affordable contract to take on mid-year for a contender. But I mean, at this point, Janley's going to get pretty much all the saves there. So RIP to the Ben Joyce love to begin the year for some late saves. That ship has sailed until July.
It's a huge bummer. It's a huge bummer, right?
We have a few late save targets, and MLB just comes in and they're like, F that. You're not getting any of those guys. You got to draft one of the top 10 because you ain't nobody else getting saves. That's just how it comes down to.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about dealing with the saves position this year. I really don't. Because I was kind of looking at, it's kind of funny. Sidebar, Your Honor, as Colby and I will just go off on tangents randomly here. But like your pitch, speaking of closers that are driving me nuts, Dennis Santana versus David Bednar, and how that's going to end up hashing out. Because I'm sitting there and I was like moving, relief pitcher rankings around to kind of adjust to certain things. I don't even know what that situation's all about. Like, how are you going to, just throw this out there. How are you handling closers this season? Do you think? Like, I don't know if you've even done any drafts yet.
Yeah, I think looking at it, what I'm probably going to end up doing is, again, I'm not going to take any in the top 5. I'm going to try to get my first one in that like RP 6 to 10 range, like a Duran from Minnesota. Like that's a pretty affordable one that I'm pretty confident in getting a good number of saves. Get that to kind of anchor my relief pitching, and then I'll take chances on guys later. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. Basically, I don't know. Football, we have like anchor RB. Do we have like anchor RP for like baseball, like anchor reliever? And that's pretty much I think that's pretty much what I'm going to do.
And I mean, I used to do it, right? I used to do it. I used to be incredibly bullish on closers. And then the position just like completely went to crap. I don't know if it was, the like major rise in analytics. Like, I don't know if it was, if it was at that point or what. Like, I remember, and, it obviously dates me, but playing fantasy in the late 90s, right? The closers, like, they were like, I mean, it was like 15 to 20 deep. Like, you didn't have to worry about anything. Like, you knew that these were the guys. And I'm talking about like guys like Troy Percival and Jeff Shaw, right? And, Danny Graves. You knew what you were getting, and the position wasn't like nearly as volatile. And I was like, yes, you grab 2 bona fide closers, guys who are not going to lose their job, who are going to help you, because back then a closer did more than just get you saves. Closer gave you like 65 innings with a sub-2 ERA and a 12.5 K per 9. Like, that's what the closers back then were giving you. Now it's like, I mean, it's beyond a crapshoot. I mean, I've got him ranked here. Class A, Devin Williams. I'm going to suddenly trust Devin Williams closing for the New York Yankees. This dude is like a year removed from back fractures. I get it. He looked great coming back, but what's the longevity there? Raisel Iglesias always finds a way to like trip things up. Class A does too. Felix Bautista, Ryan Helsley, Edwin Diaz, Tanner Scott, Josh Hader, Jeff Hoffman. Ryan Walker, Yohan Duran. I mean, I don't even know, like, can you even trust somebody to go anchor closer, anchor RP?
I don't know. And I just threw it back to a decade ago. Back in 2014, we had 17 closers with 30 plus saves.
Oh,
Last year,
bring me both.
we had 22 players with 20 plus saves. Last year, Helsley and Clase had 49 and 47 respectively. Then you had Finnegan at 30. If we look at 35, we had 4 closers last year with 35 plus saves. Back in 2014, we had 13 and we had another one at 34. Like, gone are the days of here's my ninth inning guy. I only use him in the ninth inning and I only use him in the ninth inning. That's it. Those days are gone. Like, look at it last year. Like, even in Minnesota, they gave Griffin Jacks a bunch of save opportunities. Like, teams are now like, the closer sometimes gets used in, like, you'll hear it called different things, like a fireman role. And whenever the biggest pressing issue comes up, that's when that guy comes in. And it sucks for fantasy. So, like, if you go anchor RP, you better be pretty damn confident in which one you're going in. And also, honestly, at this point, got to get a little bit lucky with it too.
Yeah, in Tout Wars, I moved over to the Solds League. Mm-hmm. I'm so excited, right? To not have to worry about that, to actually like build a regular bullpen, like, and not have to overspend for closers, is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm super psyched about it. I'm very psyched about it.
Should be.
All right, what else we got in the news? Ha-Seong Kim, mid-May return. We could go back to the Mets. I don't want to go back to the Mets. All right. I don't know. I don't remember what the actual report was with the Mets. Kodai Senga ready for a full workload. Okay, great. I love that. Clay Holmes targeting 160 innings. I think you added that
I sure did.
to the doc.
I sure did.
Like, Clay Holmes, like, are we serious? Like, how in the world are we targeting 160 innings?
That's almost as much as he's pitched in the last 3 years combined.
Almost, right? That's still more.
Close. He's at 189 innings over the last 3 years, and he wants 160 this year. But don't worry, he's added a kick change. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know what the hell that is or what even that means. That just sounds like we're getting into this world now where, like, I think pitchers like spend as much time. We draft our fantasy teams and we spend hours trying to come up. Well, you're pretty smart, so probably didn't take you hours, but trying to come up with like the best fantasy baseball team name, the best fantasy football team name. I think these guys just switch their grip and they're like, nah, this isn't a regular changeup, but it's not a circle change. Everybody throws that. And it's not a split change because that's now become pretty common. And someone goes, how about a kick change? And they're like, I don't know what that is, but I love it. And now they're going to do it. And this guy wants 160 innings. I want $1 million. Neither is happening. It ain't happening. Like me getting $1 million, that's going to take time, compound wealth. Like Clay Holmes to get to 160 innings, you need time of compound health and even show that you can do it. So enjoy your kick change up in your 100 innings that you might get to this year.
How much stock do you put in? And I know that it's always on a case by case basis, but like, because you handled pitching staffs, you were a catcher, so you had to recognize certain things with your guys. How much stock do you put into this guy's dropping in a new pitch? This guy's learning a new pitch, and spending the spring training trying to hone that. How much stock do you put into the new pitch thing? Obviously the kick change, whatever. I think it's more laughable with Holmes and 160, but who was it? Somebody's dropping in new pitches it's spring training already.
Everybody. I mean, everyone's kind of tweaking things. And you're right. It is situational. Like, you have to look at it of like, for Clay Holmes, he does need a third pitch to survive as a starter. So like for him, it does like warrant a little bit of weight. Like last year when Bryce Miller added, I believe it was the splitter. That was exciting because it gave him a new weapon. When you're looking at guys adding in new pitches, you almost need it to be a pitch that is of benefit and not just another pitch in the arsenal. Like, for example, if you're a right-handed pitcher who can't get lefties out, I don't know, like you put that in a changeup as something that else that buries away from them, or you get a cutter that comes in. Especially like if you're a fastball changeup guy, you almost want something that comes in on lefties so that they can't just bail out over the plate. So depending on the pitcher's tendencies and their struggles, the new pitch could matter a lot. Or if it's just a different, if the ball can get on like a different elevation of what they had. Like if they're a traditional fastball, hard slider, changeup, a big kind of big, not to use your last name, but a big bender, a big old loopy curveball could actually be quite beneficial because it's something different to look at, something out of the hand. So for Clay Holmes, he does need a third pitch. I still don't know what the kick changeup is, and I'm probably going to see it and then be like, dude, that's just another regular changeup. But like, good for you. It's a split change. That's what it is. So ultimately, you're right. It is situational, but if it's something different in their tool bag, I'll take that more. I'll take more stock into that than if somebody's like, yeah, I'm going to add in a changeup when all my stuff already runs arm side anyway. You still don't have anything that breaks away. It's not really anything different per se.
Yeah.
So it's situational based.
Trying to remember. Oh, that's who it was. Jackson Jobe.
Okay.
Added a curveball and a sinker.
Yeah.
To
See,
the
I didn't
repertoire.
need more reasons to be in on him, but I saw, listen, I saw that video and I was like, where's that ADP going? I'm ready though. It's not as high as I already have it. So don't even worry about it. It was filthy though. Listen, no batter, no harm, no foul. But then in the video that I saw, they even had the board back behind with the metrics. Oh, I mean, what can be said?
Jackson Joe Boner. Is that what you're talking about here?
That's a great fantasy baseball team name.
There it is.
I didn't look, see, it takes me hours to come up with that. I bring it up and in 2.5 minutes, you give me one on the spot, unprompted.
That's all right. In 15 minutes, I'll actually forget I even said it. So take it away. Write it down. Or maybe I'll write it down. Write it down next to your receipts line here.
Wait till the end of the year when you pull that thing. I'm like, wow, that's a great team name that you came up with. And I'm like, I know, right?
I just left Rotobuzz guy on all my stupid team names. All right. Yeah. Okay. So laughing at Clay Holmes, Ha-Seong Kim coming back in April. All right. Spencer Strider could make a return in April. I think that the news, so pitchers and catchers have reported now.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I mean, obviously the level of excitement is ridiculous. And I could sit here and talk like I'm a 9-year-old kid getting ready to go to the ballpark for the first time, because I get that feeling every single year. What's got you pumped up most about just the season in general? Like, obviously your Pirates are a big deal, but as an analyst and everything like that, what else is kind of jazzing you up?
It's just cool to see, when you start to get these reports of pitchers adding new pitches, players coming with reworked swings, the news we finally get, and honestly, just general talk about baseball again. Once football rolls around, that's king. I get it. Everyone talks about that, but it's nice to get baseball back on the radar. And, we talked about it last time. Like, I love yards per route run. I love getting those metrics, but baseball stats just hit a little bit different. I don't know what it is. Slash lines. It's not like they're anything crazy compared to like football and super in depth, but it's just good to have that in the air. And then when you just see and listen to baseball games, you get to watch them again. You get like all your nostalgic sounds. You get the crack of the bat. Warmer weather is coming eventually with baseball, and you just get the good vibes. And then we get warm weather. We get the All-Star game, popcorn, Cracker Jacks, beer, even though I have that pretty much all throughout the offseason anyway, but it's good to have those nostalgic vibes back with baseball.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I love the fact that you're as significantly younger than I am, and you do have that like nostalgia feel for baseball.
Yeah.
Damn, you're an old soul, Kobe. You're an old soul. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Us old, broken, and whatnot. All right. So that'll hit the news there. I think we kind of covered everything. I don't think there's anything else late breaking. Obviously, we'll tap into that. Check out fantasyalarm.com for everything in there. I don't even know. Are there any other free agents that we're really crazy about as far as whether or not they're going to sign? I don't think there's anybody name-wise out there, is there?
Not after the Marlins nabbed up Cal Quantrill to give them 150 innings of a 5 ERA.
Why you got to troll Cal? Like what happens if his mom listens to this podcast, right? Well, she like Google searches that Cal Quantrill mentions, and now she's got to go and listen to that, man.
I said he'll throw 150 innings. That's awesome.
He's not throwing 150 innings.
They have nobody else.
That is true. They don't have anybody. Oh, come on. Sandy Alcantara is going to be the opening day starter. I don't know if he's going to be the finisher.
True.
Definitely going to be the starter there. All right. So as we get ready for the fantasy baseball season, we've got a lot coming up here. We're going to be doing, I'm going to want to start doing some mock drafts and kind of really getting into the breakdown and the analysis. Obviously, we're still really early on in the process. Now, the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide, that is out. That is now available. You see the ticker at the bottom. You can get the all the insights on there. FantasyAlarm.com/MLB Draft 25. That's the URL to go to. Oh, look, there it is. Just passing by me right there. Everything that's in there. I mean, from the free agent tracker to the to all the player rankings, went deep in the rankings. Top 500 in Dynasty. Aiden Gall, our new prospect guy, is top 300 prospects. All my rankings are in there. Colby's articles in there. What did you write for the guide? I haven't gone through all the author names.
Yeah, I'm in the free agent tracker. And then, of course, when we get to positional overviews, guess what position I grabbed?
Oh, God. Whoa. You guys are going to get the most amazing catcher articles ever.
You won't find many people writing 1,000 words on catchers every week, but that's what I will be doing, and it'll be glorious.
I will say an article that stood out for me to do. I did the auction draft strategy article, and I've actually just added to it yesterday because I had some more thoughts on certain aspects. If you listen, I will say this always. If you have the opportunity to do an auction draft instead of a snake draft, you do the auction draft, right? I mean, it's so much more enjoyable. It's so much more strategy involved. It's crazy. Like, just such great gamesmanship that goes on at the at the auction table, live auctions. It's not as fun in online, but still, strategic to do it. So I did the auction draft strategy article over there. I'm particularly proud of it. I might even submit this for an FSWA award or something because I'm pretty pleased with the way it is. Do an auction, read the article. Trust me, there's everything from, preparation to bidding cadence to budgeting your auction dollars. Everything like that is all in there. So that's in there. Colby banging on the drum for the player capsules. The Front Office Insights podcast, me and Jim Bowden, 15-minute podcast on each individual team, going, everywhere from the prospects to the general manager's office and what their tendencies are. So all of that's in there. Now, one article that didn't go into the draft guide that I'm actually going to write again or touch up the old one that I did was know your metric benchmarks. We love stats. You love stats. I love stats. We probably live on Fangraphs and Baseball Savant. And we're just, it's always just such a, it's a great thing for us. For a lot of people, they can be overwhelming. They can be, just, I don't understand this. He keeps saying wOBA. Why does he keep saying wOBA? What is weighted on base average? And I'll say this: the article that I'm gonna touch up for everybody, it just basically tells you what you're looking for numbers wise. You don't need to know how they created this algorithm that spits out, wOBA, right? Or formula, algorithm. I don't even know. See, that shows you how little I know about the aspect there. I know what I'm looking for. I know what the different, so that's something there. But, we're going to be going back and forth all season long here. We're going to be spitting out a ton of different stats that we love and whatnot. So, I think that's a great starting point for everybody to understand that what stats you are getting, what we do like to lean on, a ton. I weighted on base average splits for DFS play is just one of my absolute favorite things. I love wOBA, and couldn't tell you all the factors that go into the weighted on base average, but I know what I'm looking for. And if this dude's got a 340 wOBA, yeah, that's pretty damn good. So I figured I would hit you up and find out what stats you actually prefer. What am I going to hear a lot of this year?
Yeah, wOBA's definitely a good one. When you get into like DFS, obviously we're going to have just your traditional splits that you're looking at: home road, lefty, righty. I love looking at slugging percentage. I know it's a little bit antiquated, but it still is a good metric in terms of determining, like, for example, an Alex Bregman's going to put up a very respectable slugging percentage, but you'll look and he's like, he only has 23 home runs. Dude's had 50 extra base hits in like 3 of the past 4 years. Like, that is going to tell you about the overall production of the player. One thing I really like for DFS that I'm going to use more over on Baseball Savant, you can see like run value by pitch, and you can really start diving in of like, hey, the guy they're facing is a sinker heavy guy. O'Neill Cruz pounds sinkers. He also crushes right-handed pitching. Match made in heaven. A lot of these stats we're going to talk DFS wise, but they have a home and season long as well. And I think that sometimes it's like, oh, looking in the year, like the left right splits don't matter for my season long team. It sure does. If that particular guy, like if they're facing 5 righties this week, you're getting 5 days of at bats from this particular guy. So he's someone that you want to look to. And then one that I love, you talked about it a couple episodes ago. Your archetype is that young power hitting third baseman. You can't quit that archetype. I cannot quit the ground ball strikeout pitcher profile. Keep the ball out of the air. Give me ground balls and strikeouts, and you get to Jackson Job level in my eyes. If you just know what, I won't let anybody harm my baby. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, ground ball rates. That's the funny thing. Like, I mean, when it comes to, like, I used to write for Fangraphs when I first started in the industry, and I got like the full on like lesson. I was taught by like Eno Saris, who takes pitching analysis to a level I can't even comprehend. But he taught me about ground ball rates, line drive rates, fly ball rates, swinging strike rate. That's a big one. That's a big one. I mean, I use it a lot in DFS, right? For a pitcher with a high swinging strike rate. If you're playing on DraftKings, you want those numbers. But, even so, when you're looking for like what you're looking for, if you've got like a guy who's like between a 9 and a 10 10% swinging strike rate, if that's what your comfort, if that's what you're getting throughout the entire season, you're getting some high end Ks, and it can be sneaky trying to find certain guys who are going to do it, because a lot of guys are going to be throwing 120 to 150 innings. Like, that's going to be the cutoff point for the majority of guys. So when you're starting to look at their swing and strike rates, you at least know like where you want to be for the most part.
Yeah, and you can look too, like with the ground ball strikeout profile, like you can see from last, like Paul Skeens, 50+% ground ball rate, 30+% strikeout rate. Like, that is a spot I love to be in. I know that's like the elite guys, but like Garrett Crochet, 35K, 35% strikeout rate, 45% ground ball rate. Glasnow's in that 30-40. Chris Sale, Sonny Gray, Tarek Skubal. Like, you can see that archetype pans out. And like, I love hard hit rate. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing how hard guys hit the ball, how, if exit velocity is really good for pitchers, you can allow a high hard hit rate. If 50% of the balls in play are going on the ground, you're not going to get harmed that often. You put yourself in a better spot. Whereas, like, as much as I kind of talk about that archetype, like Nick Pivetta last year was a 28% strikeout guy, but one of the lower ground ball rates in the league. In the free agent tracker, I said if he can cut some percentage points off that fly ball rate, the strikeout rate is good, and the home park should help offset some of the home run issues. But that ground ball strikeout archetype, I cannot quit it. I think it plays very well. It's also why I stuck around on Brian Bello for far too long before I finally got off that ship. But I mean, if we look last year in terms of strikeout rate of guys with, let's say, a 45% ground ball rate as well, you got Garrett Crochet, Paul Skeens, Tyler Glasnow, Chris Sale, Sonny Gray. Actually, he was just below it. Tarek Skubal. Those are the guys, 30% strikeout rate, 45+% ground ball rate. Yes, those are the elites of the elites. But if you see some guys knocking on the door, or maybe like their chase rate, they get enough swings out of the zone, they just haven't found the strikeouts yet. Like, that's going to add up. That's an archetype that lends itself to fantasy dominance.
Interesting. Let me ask you then about a particular pitcher. I didn't even take a look at his chase rate, but just give me just one quick second here. All right, it's about at average for a chase rate. Rafael Soriano from the Angels. So I did the Angels breakdown today on the Fantasy Alarm Show, right? So Rafael Soriano, because I'm throwing it down, like, I mean, in his first stint, you know, not this past year, the year before that, he threw like 42 innings, 12 plus K per nine, very high walk rate, nearly a 5 per 9 walk rate. Yeah, like exactly what you would think from a young, high strikeout pitcher. 51% ground ball rate. Now you fast forward to him last year, the K rate dropped significantly, right? But so did the walk rate. And the ground ball rate jumped up to nearly 60%. So I look at a guy like that, and when you think about like third time, it's like everybody talks about like that third year starter, right? And you look at it, and what I've always found is that a high strikeout guy with a high walk rate, if he comes back the following season and he diminishes in strikeouts, but he also fixes that walk rate, year 3, we're going to start seeing a return of that strikeout rate. The walk rate's going to probably stay, in the spot where it needs to be. And if he's doing all that crap with a 59% ground ball rate, like, that's a guy I'm willing to like really take a shot on. Like, I don't care that he's not going to get wins for playing for the Angels, but there's something about him and the stuff that he's got that really just kind of, it intrigues me enough that as a bargain play, a bargain play, he to me is what I would call a sleeper.
Yeah, and for him too to get back into that strikeouts, it's just as simple as a pitch mix adjustment. Like he basically said, I'm not going to pitch to contact per se, but I'm going to ride my sinker as my primary pitch. And guess what it did? Launch angle that was negative, ground ball menace, and that helped offset some of the damage that he was otherwise seeing. So, like, who's to say he finds a happy middle point between those two? From going from like knuckle curve and what was it? And his 4-seamer with a splitter in there to basically being sinker knuckle curve nearly 3/4 of the time. Like he could do a little trade-off there, just a little bit of a pitch mix adjustment, still utilize his sinker, generate a hella amount of ground balls. And then when he's ready, he can let that knuckle curve shine because that pitch hasn't gone anywhere. Still registered a 40% whiff rate last year, and the splitter can get some swings and misses as well. So there's definitely an archetype there that is interesting. And if that ground ball rate holds, he mixes in some of those other pitches a little bit more, that strikeout rate will rebound a little bit in 2025. And if you love seeing over on Baseball Savant pitchers based on velocity and movement that are similar, you'll like a couple of the names that are there.
Very nice. All right. So chase rates are big for you. Run value by DFS wise, run value by pitch, lefty righty splits, home road splits, rock in there. Strong whiff rate, ground ball rates, huge. What about percentage of competitive swings?
Yeah, that's a new one. That is newer. That's over at Baseball Savant, but basically just saying like, everyone's kind of come with Pitching Ninja coming up with that swords. Everyone's getting a little bit enamored by that. And that's basically what we're looking for here. But how many times is the opposition putting on a competitive swing against a particular pitcher? If you're up there making dudes look foolish, they can't be competitive. You're in a very good spot there. So like I'm gonna delve into that a little bit more this year. It's something I haven't done a lot with. So it's kind of weird for me to say that it's one that I really like, but there's definitely a lot to like with it. And like guys last year, like Chris Sale, Josh Hader were amongst the most of like generating the fewest amount of or percentage of competitive swings against them. So that's going to be something like early on that we can say like, all right, for example, Soriano's up there with a limited number of competitive swings against him. Let's go look at his pitch mix. Okay, there it is. The knuckle curve back. That's what he's doing, and he's done this. Or is somebody maybe generating fewer competitive swings against them because they were one of the 3,900 pitchers this offseason that added a new pitch to their repertoire? That's what we can do. So that's going to be a little bit of a newer stat that I'm really looking forward to dive into dive into this year. And then, of course, wOBA is obviously a good one, like you said. And then hard hit rate and an average exit velocity to an extent. I like it for hitters, but I think launch angle and average exit velocity have to be looked at together, because you can have a high exit velocity with a low launch angle, and for all intents and purposes, it means nothing. Like, cool, you hit the ball in the 70th percentile of hard hit rate, but you have a 4th percentile like fly ball rate. So like you're just gonna be a singles guy. That's what you are.
All right, so just a little taste there of some of the stats that we're going to be throwing around here. Obviously, if you're a seasoned fantasy baseball player, you're gonna, obviously, you're gonna know these things. But you know what? For the same token, maybe not. Maybe maybe you just sit there and you hear people go around and around. So what I'll do is I'll write this article up just so that stats that Colby's going to be dealing with a lot, stats that I'm going to be dealing with a lot, and just give you like the benchmarks of what you're looking for. For batting average on balls in play, you want to see somebody in like the 320 range, like that. Those are fine numbers for you. It's like below 300 sucks. You don't have to know why batting average on balls in play is worthwhile or whatever, but again, just giving you the benchmarks of what you should be looking for is what I'm trying to say. So again, I'll have that article written up over at fantasyalarm.com. Colby, we wanted to play a little game here. Well, I don't know if it's a real game, more of a debate, more of a thing, more of a fair, more of a foul, kind of mixing and matching, throwing things up against it. You're the one who wanted to play a little this or that. But we renamed it fair or foul because I guess it's more baseball-y. What do you want to talk about?
It is. Yeah. So a couple here, and I'll start with this one. I don't want to give my opinion first. I'll actually kick it to you first. But let's say fair or foul. Is the statement fair or foul? Strikeout rate and walk rate is more valuable than K per 9 or walks per 9. In terms of which, I guess it's kind of going what we talked about. Is there a stat that you lean towards more? So based on my statement is this or that, strikeout, walk rate, or K per 9, walk per 9? Fair.
I'll say fair for this. It doesn't really, it's kind of funny. Like I use K per 9 and walk per 9 as like the quick reference, right? I don't have to, like for strikeout rate, I'm looking at like, a couple of more things that are going along with it, like, swing rates and swinging strike rates and things like that. If I look at like K per 9, walk per 9, that to me is just like the quick reference. Oh, I need a strikeout guy, who's got the better K per 9 right now, kind of a thing. So I'll say fair on that. You?
Like center field fair. Definitely fair. Not even close to the foul poles. K per 9 or walk per 9 is nice if you're trying to, especially if you're like newish and you look and like, I don't know what a 28% strikeout rate comes to. Like you can look like, 8.2 K per 9 almost strikes out about a batter per inning. Makes sense. It's very easy to go that way. The problem I have with K per 9 and walks per 9 is that the calculation is solely based off innings pitched. And it can be kind of flawed in that you could go one inning and strike out all of the batters and you have an immaculate K per 9. But what happens if you get absolutely shelled? The lineup goes through the order twice. You faced inherently more batters. Your strikeout rate looks a lot worse despite striking the same number of guys out. So I think I agree with you.
Old I struck out the side but gave up 6 runs doing it.
Exactly. Yep. So it's the K per 9 or walk per 9. It's like very quick to get an idea, but if you're really going to go in and take a look at it and get a true measure of the pitcher's ability to either strike somebody out or avoid walks, strikeout rate and walk rate is where you want to be. So good. We agree. That's a good start. Let's see.
Harmony.
Let's see how the second one goes here. So fair or foul? Is it fair or foul that Jacob deGrom, oft-injured Jacob deGrom, is going off the board 35-plus picks ahead of the likes of Roki Sasaki, Hunter Green, and also oft-injured Tyler Glasnow?
Yeah, I feel like the way you're setting it up right now is that you're trying to push me in one direction or trying to just basically state how you feel about it. But we know this is foul. Like, do we really want to invest in Jacob deGrom again? Like, what is it about it? and I mean, we've seen this like historically, you know, guys who are absolutely phenomenal that just, they can't stay healthy. And as their career wanes on, they falter more and more. And we draft them based off of their name and what they could have been had it just been 5 years ago or 3 surgeries ago or anything like that. Now, the funny thing is like Roki Sasaki, who's the guy who was told long ago, far away, to have Tommy John surgery, but he opted not to do that. So that's going to be interesting to see how long before his arm falls off. Tyler Glasnow, like you said, also oft injured. But Hunter Green, who can be a little wild at times, I would probably, if the two of them were sitting there on the board together, I might actually take Jacob deGrom just because of his ceiling, right? Because Hunter Green hasn't put together that season that we really want, that we've expected from him. But I mean, in all honesty, it's foul that Jacob deGrom is going 35 plus picks ahead of these guys when he should be going like right around them at best.
Yeah, and when you look at Glasnow too, at both of their ceilings, I don't know if deGrom is 35 picks better than Glasnow. Glasnow is a fantasy ace at his ceiling. Glasnow basically is Jacob deGrom this year, just 35 picks later. I just also can't get over the fact that the shortened 2020 season, deGrom threw 68 innings that year, and that is more than he's thrown in 3 of the 4 seasons past that were not shortened seasons. Like, if you want a fantasy ace with top 5 potential who has some injury concerns, sure, you could draft Jacob deGrom, but you could also draft Tyler Glasnow 3 rounds later and be in a similar situation there. So,
yeah.
Yep. And then the last one here, let's throw it here. A little dual action, a little twofer. Fair or foul? Junior Caminero and, that's the operator here, and Mark Vientos both hit 30 plus home runs in 2025.
Oh, I mean, you're picking on my young third baseman tendencies here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say foul because I don't think both of them do it. I think they're both capable of doing it, but one of them is going to give me like 28, 27. Here's the thing. So with Alonso coming back to the Mets, it pushes Vientos down the order, right? So Juan Soto is going to be there, and Alonso is going to be his protection in the lineup. They're not going to want to, pitch around Soto to pitch around Alonso to serve it up to Vientos. They're going to try and attack Alonso, reasonably speaking. I do love the potential. I just don't know if Vientos is going to get the pitches that he really needs or wants to hit because, even batting cleanup, right? I mean, Francisco Alvarez, if he bats 5th, maybe, or Nimmo if he bats 5th, but neither one of them are like really threatening. So I just don't know if Vientos gets those opportunities. Junior Caminero is going to do it. Junior Caminero is going to do it. And I'll tell you why. Because Junior Caminero is playing half of his home games at Legends Field. He's playing his half his games in a minor league ballpark. I get it. The walls are the walls and the distance is the distance. It's just different. It's just different. Caminero's going to do it.
I would like that very much. I think it's going to be fair, and I'm actually more, if one of them is not going to do it, I think it's Caminero, but I do think he's going to get there.
Shut up. Why you got to do that? Why?
No, I love him too. He's a guy that I like, and I'm going to get that using Vegas odds for seasonal research. I'm going to get that article added to the site as well. But if you look over at DraftKings Sportsbook right now, Mark Vientos is minus 115 for 35 plus home runs this season.
Oh, shit. Really? I did not see that.
Yep. He is minus 115 at 35 plus. Caminero is actually minus 200 at 25 plus and plus 125 at 30 plus. And I like that number quite a bit. So I'm saying fair to that statement. They're both going past 30.
I stand corrected completely, and I will now side with Colby. Dude, it's so annoying. So annoying. Why do I love power hitting third baseman so much, Colby? Why?
I don't know. I mean, hey, we all have a type and we fall for it. You power hitting third
Just can't
baseman and
quit
I'm
'em.
ground ball strikeout pitchers.
There you go. Those are our weaknesses, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why we're going to end tonight's podcast on our weaknesses, but I'll tell you what, if loving a power hitting third baseman or a pitcher with a high ground ball rate and a high strikeout rate is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Well, actually, you know what? It actually makes sense that we end up talking about types and things we love because February 14th is Valentine's Day. Cupid's come and shot us with an arrow, and it made us talk about our types and our loves and our aspirations, and that did it.
Do you want to are you is this just a way for you to try and like give your wife a happy Valentine's Day shout out? You don't really believe in this holiday, do you?
Well, I mean, yeah, also it's my birthday, so
Oh, well, then happy birthday.
thanks. But it is Valentine's Day first.
No. It's not Colby. I will, you know what? I will say happy birthday to Colby Conway more times on February 14th than I will say happy Valentine's Day. There's no doubt in my mind.
I think I'll say happy Valentine's Day more.
Well, you're still a newlywed. I'm an old fart. What are you going to do?
I guess I could just walk around and just say happy birthday to me all day and just really selfish about it. But yeah, I like that ending. That was nice. That was a happier episode. I like that. That was more fun than being negative and pessimistic about things.
See, there we go. Why? Because baseball's coming, ladies and gentlemen. And we appreciate you guys tuning in 100%. Colby and I will be back next week too. With like much more spring training news to dive into. So as always, if there's anything that you guys want us to discuss, or if you have questions, anything like that, he is at Colby R. Conway on the old X machine. I am at Roto Buzz Guy on the X machine as well as all of our socials. And if you're a Fantasy Alarm subscriber, just keep hitting us up in the Discord and we'll take care of you guys. But for this week right now, thanks so much for joining us. For Colby Conway, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.